of what he did. So anyway, here I am today presenting before the club and on the topic of streaming TV live. And this particular paper you have, it's divided into 5 sections. First of all, the section A is just basically an introduction to live streaming and what is called cord cutting. And the second section is on streaming services. Third section on streaming devices. And the section D, is on smart TVs. And the last section, section E, is looking into the possibility of adding antenna TV to streaming. So I'm going to ask right now, how many of you have done or are doing streaming TV? Let me see. I'm a little surprised. I would have thought it might be more than that. I hope after today it will be more than that. Okay. Now, let me see. I don't think I have anything else to ask on that. Well, anyway, my whole layout here is a series of questions like what is streaming TV? And basically, streaming TV is receiving your TV when it is broadcast, just like you do on cable TV or satellite TV, receiving it when it's broadcast, but using the internet for the source of the TV. So which means you have to have a fairly decent internet connection. Actually, that gets a little overblown because you remember back about 5 years ago when we had DSL internet here at one megabit download speed, and it just did not vary from that. It was 1 megabit, hell or high water. Well, anyway, even in those days, 5, 6, as long as 6 years ago, I was using a streaming device, and I had very little problems. Once in a while, in the evening, when a lot of people were on the internet, it would get a little bit shallow, and maybe my picture would stop for a moment on the TV and have to buffer. You see the circle going around and all that. But it was really pretty good. And of course, once we got the new cable TV at 9 megabits, 9.5 megabits download, that was pretty good. Now, a week or two ago, they doubled that to 17 megabit download. You have download speed and upload speed. And of course, with things like the internet, we've got a couple of things to think about there. You have internet speed and you have internet bandwidth. How many think they have a good understanding of what speed and bandwidth are? Maybe some of you do. Do you? Well, basically, I think the best way to demonstrate it is if you were putting water through a soda straw, you could put it through at great pressure. That would represent a really, really strong, fast internet speed. A lot of pressure. That water would shoot from me to 7 rows back. Okay. Well, if it's only a soda straw, not much water is getting out. That's bandwidth. You want to really get some water out, you get a larger pipe. But if you don't have the pressure behind it, it's not much better than the other one. The pipe goes and drops right here. But if you put pressure behind it, speed and bandwidth, you can really project that water out. You kind of get the idea. The big advantage that speed has in streaming TV is that things load faster. You're going to get the same picture whether the speed is fairly slow or blazingly fast, but your programs and apps will load faster. Okay, what is cord cutting? It's got to be a popular term. If you Google the term cord cutting, you'll have millions of hits nowadays. And there are online publications that you can get, like Cord Cutters News, Cord Cutters Weekly, Cord Cutters this and that. It's all available. So cord cutting is the act of canceling paid cable or satellite services and substituting less expensive and often free streaming TV. I do take pride in calling myself a cord cutter. I officially became a cord cutter in October of 2016. One day I said, this is stupid. I'm fighting with DirecTV, which I'd had for 17 years. Ever since I sold my business in '99, I had did I say DirecTV? I meant Dish Network, excuse me. I had Dish Network. I was a great Dish Network fan, loved it. But the price kept going up, and I'm just internally a tremendous cheapskate. I refuse to bow to all these price increases. And so when it hit $75 a month for what I used to pay $29 a month for, I said, that's it, baby. And I called them up one day and I said, I'm canceling my subscription. You want me to send my equipment back? And they said, no, you can keep your equipment. So anyway, so I did that. And the thing was, I had some favorite TV programs. Now, I guess we're on commercial now. I'll talk about this later. But I got Varney and Company on this. I used to love to watch Fox Business and MSNBC and CNN and Fox News, different programs like that. Now I have those no longer. And so I had to be weaned off of this stuff. It was really tough. But you know, my inspiration was something that Ron said that year at Computer Club. He said, I understand that Google is going to start we've got rumors that Google is going to start a streaming service called YouTube TV. Not related directly at all to YouTube, but you all know what that is. YouTube TV. And it's supposed to be carrying the major cable satellite channels like I just listed. And I thought, well, that is just great. I'll look forward to that. Well, then it happened on April 6th, 2017. That's a day I still celebrate, April 6th every year, because that was the day that YouTube TV came out. Now, I admit I've got bias. I'm kind of biased toward that, but I'm going to be unbiased and tell you there are a lot of other good streaming services. And when we get on to page 2, you'll see a whole chart listing 9 streaming services. Well, anyway, when YouTube TV came out on April 6, 2017, the only way you could access it was on a tablet or other personal device, my phone. So I was watching it on my little phone, and the problem was you got these buttons on the side. Every dang time I touch a button, the picture would go like this. It was kind of frustrating, and that's one of the reasons I went to Costco one day and they had this Samsung tablet on sale for about $200. I don't know, a lot of money, but I can't stand this anymore, just looking at my phone. So this became my TV. And then I learned about Chromecast, again, thanks to probably Ron or somebody in this club, learned about Chromecast, and so which reminds me, I forgot to bring a Chromecast into the computer room. I was going to bring one in to show it, but I can describe it, I guess. Okay, thanks. Well, anyway, so that's the way I was watching TV with YouTube TV when it became available in Minneapolis, which was August 30th. 2017. These dates are so important to me because you see, YouTube TV, oh really? YouTube TV will only come out in cities, and this is the way it was introduced, where they could make arrangements with the major networks. You know, like ABC, CBS, NBC, and the Fox network. Okay, that's not Fox News. Fox News is cable, satellite. Fox network is broadcast TV. Stuff that goes through the air, hits an antenna, going into the TV. Some of you may remember having done that back 50 years ago. Anyway, that was the way I watched. That's the way I watched YouTube TV from that date in late summer of 2017. And through my season, into my season here. And then a marvelous thing happened on February 1st, 2018, in that YouTube TV became available as an app on Roku. And well, I thought I died and gone to bed. I've been a Roku user for 6 years, and now I could download the Roku app, the YouTube TV app to my Roku, and it was there to use. You're going to see that later in this session. And so from that point on, I could actually get it right on my TV, and I didn't need to use my Chromecast. And of course, I went out and bought the most expensive, the Chromecast Ultra, which right here. This is a Chromecast. No, it's probably not an Ultra, but the Chromecast Ultra is the 4K version. And I'm getting a little ahead of myself here, but we'll talk about it. But this plugs into the HDMI port of the TV. It's powered by a USB port, on the back of the TV or a separate power source if you like. Anyway, the Chromecast allowed you to cast from your device or your phone to your TV. In fact, in our park model, I even built a little shelf right by my easy chair that I could put this on. I'd bring it up and I'd hit the button, which would get the Chromecast connecting what I was viewing on the screen to my TV. And then I would do all my program getting on the device and fast forwarding and stopping and pausing and all that kind of stuff on this little tablet, which was, again, always easier to operate than my phone. The phone works good in a pinch, but I love having a smaller source. Well, like I said, when the YouTube TV app came to Roku, a couple months later, I put my Chromecast on Craigslist and sold it because I no longer needed it. It was unnecessary because now I had a Roku. So anyway, I'm getting ahead of myself again, a little bit getting out of order here, but that's okay. So I guess I talked about when I became a cord cutter, and at the bottom of near the bottom of the first section of A, it says, it's later on, I guess, where I say, the third paragraph down, what is on-demand TV? And this is a big deal for me. You know, I hate people telling me what I got to do, when I got to do it. I'll give you a good example. I just thought about this. Back in I don't know what year, I was 30 years ago or more, 31 years ago, I think. One day, I was a pipe smoker. And one Saturday morning, I woke up, my tobacco pouch was empty, and my tobacco can was empty. It was about 6:45 in the morning, and my gosh, I gotta have my pipe tobacco. So I quick jumped in the car and ran to the closest Walgreens store. They didn't open until 7:30. So I'm sitting there in the car stewing, waiting for them to open because I had to get my special brand of pipe tobacco, you know? Well, after about 15 minutes of stewing, I went, what is going on? I'm letting pipe tobacco rule me. I don't have anybody ruling me except my wife. I don't have anybody ruling me, and I'm not going to let tobacco rule me. I started up the car, drove right home. I took all my pipes, broke them in half, my tobacco can, everything, threw it all in the trash can, and I never smoked since. I just made up my mind. I'm not going to have it. And it's the same thing with TV. I hated a TV situation where you had to watch it only when it's broadcast, which of course I'm stepping on toes, but that's the situation with the current park cable at Silveridge. You gotta watch it when it happens, and unless you're very wealthy and very, to buy expensive equipment and really know what you're doing, you can't, what do you want to call it, DVR it, or, yeah, it's not possible unless you spend a lot of money on some very special equipment. Well, anyway, on-demand TV is watching what you want to watch and when you want to watch it. And that is great. You know, there's a favorite news program I have on. I like to watch. I've been watching for years. It comes on at 5 o'clock in the Twin Cities and 4 o'clock here. Probably less than 10 times in the last 10 years have I watched it live. I'm always time shifting it to later in the day. I maybe 7 o'clock at night, nothing on TV. Well, I'll watch my news program. I like that convenience. I like to be able to watch TV what I want to watch, when I want to watch it. And that's another great thing about streaming TV. Let's see, my format is a little different here. I want to make sure you know what I'm talking about. This is just okay. I talked at one point about the streaming TV offered the same channels as cable and satellite TV. And I say here that most channels that are available on cable and satellite TV are also available from streaming service. Now, one exception is PBS, and I need to explain this more thoroughly. Public broadcast television. How many of you are fans, like myself, of PBS? A lot of great programming. A lot of great programming. Well, here's something you need to know. Now, you do get channel 8-1 on our park cable here at Silveridge, but altogether there are well, at minimum 3, more like 4 or 5 PBS channels, so you don't see sub-channels, so you don't see the rest of them. But you can get those in different ways, which I'll explain later. Anyway, PBS, the thing you want to do if you're going to stream it, you go take your computer and go online to pbs.org. pbs.org. And I don't know if I have that written here because I wrote most of this sometime last week, last couple of weeks, and published it. Anyway, pbs.org, and you set up an account. It's free, it doesn't cost any money. You set up an account, and one of the things they will ask you to name your local PBS station. Now we've got K-A-E-T TV here in Phoenix, and that's a wonderful public TV station. We have TNT, or TPT in the Twin Cities Public Television. And so that was my favorite, so I signed up for Twin Cities Public Television, fine, and I was able to watch all the PBS stuff and many shows that on my local station sent to PBS and say, it's okay for your users to see these shows too, the people who subscribe and list TNT as their, or TPT, say TNT, TPT as their home public station. Now, something changed with public TV in the last 2 years, and it's called Passport. Now, I was always a contributor to public TV because I feel I watch it, and the watcher, I should give them a few bucks. So my average year, I was getting about 40 bucks a year. Well, when they came out with this Passport business 2 years ago, it was that if you give us $60 in one calendar year, you will now unlock all of the stuff that was formerly free because they restricted a whole bunch of valuable content. You can now get that content. So it was only another 20 bucks for me. So every year I now pay 60 bucks instead of 40, and I'm unlocked. All the content is unlocked for me. And now you will get a separate app if you have a streaming service that you can add PBS to. And that's what I do. And you'll see that when I demonstrate the Roku, and I'm going to demonstrate also the Amazon Fire Stick, with the one that's going to be given away today, later. Okay. Now, under Section B, I talk about streaming services. What are some things you need to know about streaming services? I'll watch my time here. First of all, there are no contracts to sign. Not that I know of at least. You can join one and quit it. Join one, have it for 2 months, quit it. You're done. You don't have to say, I'm sorry, you don't pay for it anymore. You just say, I'm unsubscribing. So you either subscribe and pay the fee, or you unsubscribe and don't get it. Lower cost. Basically, the entry fee for doing streaming TV is around $40, $45 or so. Now, some of the streaming services have a lot of add-ons, and some don't have so many, and we'll talk about that later. Now, there are usually less channels that you get with a streaming service, but that's the downside. But the upside is there are all these different streaming services, of which we picked 9 popular ones, which is what that chart is all about, and that's a great system. Okay, going down the points here, streaming services, of course, are accessed by a streaming device, of which there are several popular ones. I guess we could say 4 altogether, of the most popular, which I talk about later, or a smart TV, or a computer, or tablet, or even your smartphone. Okay, another thing about streaming services, greater flexibility to watch your TV anywhere. Now, I'm having some eye problems. Unfortunately, I had a corneal transplant November 1st, so my right eye is still healing and not terribly good. I brought along a washcloth today because it gets so teary, it is over tearing, so I have to keep cleaning my eyes so that I can at least get some vision out of my recently operated on right eye, get some vision out of it. Okay, so anyway, my wife drives. Oftentimes in the spring, she said, I don't trust your eyesight, I'm driving. So she does virtually all the driving when we're together. Thank heavens I can still drive when she's not with me. I can drive anywhere I want. But anyway, I don't know about the rest of the public, but I haven't hit anybody yet. Anyway, so, anyway, I'll sit in the car and if there's a particular TV program, maybe if we're going somewhere in the evening and I haven't watched my special news program, I'll just bring it up and watch it in the car. It works fine, you know. I've got a mobile, actually I can use either the Verizon network, I can use my mobile hotspot. It's actually better technically to use the Verizon network for receiving it. Then point 6, you can access, with the streaming service, you can access not only of course your streaming services, but other services like Netflix, Showtime, HBO, you know, movie channels. Point 7, most services offer, and here's really good news, and this is going to be an important point to remember. Almost all of these services offer a free trial. So, like 7 days typically, a couple 14 days. So again, the procedure would be, if you get that list, which you can email me and get, and look through and say, well, these are the top 2 or 3. What do they look like in reality? And then you can go and try one, subscribe to it for 7 days and use it. Well, then cancel. Go to another one, subscribe for 7 days, and then decide what you want and stick with that one. So that works good. Okay, actually, I asked another question here, how many streaming services are there? I thought there were probably 15 or 20. I happened to watch a video done by an expert yesterday who says there are actually over 200 streaming services, but most of them, that probably includes some of the other countries. So we won't even talk about those. We're going to just concentrate on the most popular, of which this particular same expert says it's 9. Okay. Do streaming services provide local network channels? I mentioned ABC, CBS, NBC, and Fox Network. Yes, some of them do. On the chart on that second page, actually the first 5 out of 9 services, you'll note about the 6th line down that says yes, and then the others are no. Now there's one of the services doesn't offer CBS. Apparently they must have said something bad. CBS says you go fly, you know, whatever. So they didn't get along with it. Okay. By the way, another thing about subscribing to a streaming service. The big surprise I got, and that's the last part of this section, was that that when I got that, you know, my Roku, when I got the YouTube TV app on my Roku, I had a pleasant discovery. Instead of only having local Phoenix stations, now I have instead my Minneapolis-St. Paul stations. And I'll tell you, this was great because I no longer had to watch all the robberies and murders and crimes in Phoenix, which is just exasperating. Now I can watch all the murders, robberies, and crimes in different cities. Actually, there aren't that many. There aren't that many because it's a much smaller metropolitan area, and of course it's Minnesota. Anyway, I'm biased. Going on. Okay, I talked about this graphic. A couple of things. Take a look at the first line. Who owns some of these? DirecTV owns DirecTV now, or AT&T, which is the owner of DirecTV, owns it. Hulu is owned by Disney. Now Hulu is a little different in that Hulu has been for some years a movie channel, and they started up a streaming service 2 or 3 years ago. And so you actually get it by going to the Hulu movie channel and then subscribing to the service which is called Hulu Live TV, which is a streaming service, not movies, okay, as such. And then there's YouTube TV. YouTube TV is owned by Google, just like YouTube. YouTube and YouTube TV is owned by Google. Then you have PlayStation View, owned by Sony. I heard an interesting discussion. I was watching one of these cord-cutting shows yesterday, and the guy running it, his name is Luke Buma. He made a point that the name PlayStation View is confusing because you don't need a PlayStation to watch PlayStation View. Sony just used that popular name to kind of promote their streaming service. So PlayStation Vue is a streaming service, okay? Then there's an independent called Fubo TV, which isn't bad. It's an upstart, doing fairly well. It's independent. And then you have the Sling TV, two different ones here. Sling TV is rather complicated. You have to read it and study it. It's understandable, but it's way more complicated than the others. And there are some footnotes to the chart which explain a little bit about that. And then there's a small one called Philo, P-H-I-L-O, which is also an upstart with not terribly many customers. And then AT&T Watch TV. Now, I think the number of, well, AT&T Watch, of course, is promoted by AT&T, and it's a little similar to, but yet different from DirecTV Now. And it's small, but it's ultra cheap, but you don't get much, you don't pay much and you don't get much. But they're going to be expanding, and they say they've got a great plan for future success. They're just going slowly about the whole thing. There's a lot of other things on this chart. This took me a long time to call out information and put it into a chart. As far as the number of U.S. subscribers, the Sling TV of 2.5 million, I wonder if there's something that, I don't know this, but possibly Dish Network may have given this free streaming to people to keep them interested in Dish Network. Because, the two big satellite companies, Dish Network and DirecTV, are bleeding. Is there a problem?
Carol has a problem.
Oh, I see. Okay. Anyway, the two big satellite companies, of course, are DirecTV and Dish Network. And they have been bleeding customers for the last couple of years, primarily, not only because of tightwads like Dewey, who refuses to pay the cost, but it's just a lot of people are getting interested in streaming TV and saying, well, I don't need that anymore. So if you can save yourself money, what's better, paying $75, $80 a month for basic satellite TV, or paying $40, $45 a month for a streaming service and getting it? Yes?
Well, if you have Dish, you notice that they're pushing a lot of commercials on Sling TV.
Oh, are they? See, I haven't had Dish since, I think I said October 2016.
Yeah.
And so,
be a slinger,
Oh, really?
Yeah,
Sure.
like, when I first saw it,
Sure.
I was like, what?
Yeah. Some of you might remember, I don't know, it was 2 weeks ago or 3 weeks ago today, my wife and I proudly had our daughter here at the computer club meeting and introduced her to the club. She's a very sweet and wonderful daughter. And she and her husband and family, they are big Sling TV users, and they use a Chromecast. And I've been trying to talk them into getting a streaming service. They're paying as much as I'm paying for my YouTube TV, but they say, well, we like all the sports. Well, I'll tell you what, I got 21 sports channels, all outstanding, or most of them outstanding, on YouTube TV. I don't know what more they would want. They live up in Minnesota. There's Big Ten Network and Fox Sports North and all these other things. But anyway, and then they don't have the convenience of a remote control because they have a Chromecast. Fine, they love it, and I can't talk them out of it. That's the way it is. Okay, going on. Now, are there any questions from these first two sections, the A section and the B section? Yes.
What's your email address?
Oh, it should be on. I think it's on the first page.
Got it. Thank you.
It's on the first page. Okay. Yes.
What's VPN?
Virtual Private Network. And that was covered by Dave Christmas most wonderfully, about 3-4 weeks ago? Yeah, and he's the guy to talk about it. We've talked about it here. It's a way that it has a lot of advantages, and one of them is that Canadians can sort of access stuff from the U.S. much easier. But I'll let Dave explain that. I don't do a good job. Yes, sir.
Yeah, you mentioned that the park has an unencrypted
Yes.
comes in. Channel Master puts out a DVR for off-air that you can record it.
Yes.
Could you not then get one of those and record it off? the wire?
Assuming that it has built into it what is called a QAM tuner. It has to have a QAM tuner, and if it has that, it most certainly could record and programs. Do you know about that at all?
What's that?
If the channel master recorder could record our park cable TV?
You cannot record on open systems with a DVR because there's no program guide, and you can't do time shifts unless you do it manually. TiVo is the only DVR I know that you might be able to do it. However, as an alternative to streaming, Mesa has 52 channels of TV. Granted, some of them are in the language that I don't speak.
You try broadcast TV.
These are broadcast
Yeah.
with an antenna. They're absolutely free, and any DVR that you have will work wonderful with it.
Yeah.
Especially for the main channels, broadcast channels of ABC, NBC, and CBS.
Right. I cover all this in my 5th section. There's more there than you'd ever even want to know. So anyway, going on, I described each of the different services. I'm curious, does anyone here have an Apple TV as a streaming device? And
The Apple boys.
I have
Jim.
Apple TV. What about it?
I'm just asking, how does it work for you?
Oh, it works great for me.
That's what I understand. How about you, Jim?
Works, does everything I want.
Dave?
Works just like the Amazon Fire.
Okay.
You know, it's called the alternative to Chromecast. You know that, don't you?
Well, all the others with remote control are
Just like
alternatives.
Apple is the alternative to Android.
Yes, which means you get the privilege of paying 4 or 5 times as much too. But anyway, that's another subject, I guess. Okay, and I'm a type 1, remember? Okay, so, okay, I've covered that stuff. We're going on to, I'm not sure what page you're on. I have this in 9 pages, so. Anyway, I show you pictures of the 3 remote controls. I think that's the 3rd page, is it? 3 remote controls. One for the Roku streaming stick, one for the Amazon Fire TV stick, and one for Apple TV. Now I'm going to, just right now since we're talking devices, I'm going to show these to you. Right here, actually, this is the Fire, we'll get this here, raise it up so you can see. This is the Amazon Fire TV stick. It's like a huge thumb drive. And because of the way they built it, I think that's it. They give you a little extension cord. I gotta get this in here right. Yeah, a little extension dongle that is easier to plug into your TV and is flexible and all that. And even though you could power this theoretically using the USB port, which is right here, I have my left arm is bad. That's what it looks like. They give you a power supply to plug in, and here's the remote control as pictured. Okay? And by the way, it comes, and this is what is being offered today, it comes in this little box. Somebody's going to walk away with one of these. A fantastic little piece of equipment with one big exception, which I haven't said it already. I'll say it sometime later on. This is a Roku. And here's the Roku remote control, which is pictured. And the Roku, this is the Roku streaming stick. And by the way, this is also a 4K, as is the Amazon I just showed you, and the one we're giving away today. And while I'm talking about it, I want to remind you of something written there. If you buy one of these, geez, don't be a type 1. Spend an extra $10 and whatever it costs to get the 4K version. It's got a faster processor, and you're kind of future-proofing it because someday you may have a 4K TV. Okay? Fine. Well, anyway, here's the Roku streaming stick and its power supply, and just like the Fire TV, this is a USB connector. You can plug it directly into